My child, my beloved, I never wanted to speak to you like this. But heaven cannot stay silent anymore. You have been warned many times in gentle whispers, in dreams, in delays, in gut feelings that made you pause, but you walked past them all. And now I, Archangel Michael, must raise my voice. You made a serious mistake. And that mistake has opened a doorway you were never supposed to touch. I tried to block it. I begged for more time, but you did not listen. And because of that, something is now heading toward you that should not have been released. This is your moment to act, or you will carry the weight of what's coming alone. The moment you begin to read this message, the window opens for one last intervention. But if you leave it or delay it again, the consequences will fall hard and fast like a wave that's been building behind a dam you can no longer hold. Listen to me because I am still fighting for you. My child, my beloved, if you're still here, that means your soul is still reachable. That means the damage can still be reversed. But this is not something you can push away again. This is not another sign you can skip or label as coincidence. This is a divine confrontation. What you did, even if unknowingly, disrupted the order set by God's hand for your life. You said something, agreed to something, or ignored something, and it let the wrong energy attach itself to you. That energy is growing, and it's already begun to distort how others see you, how you see yourself, and even how blessings flow to you. You've probably already noticed the change, the delays, the confusion, the people backing away for no reason, the unexpected tension in places that used to feel peaceful. It's not your imagination. It's the echo of the mistake you made. But I am not here to condemn you. I'm here to offer you one more divine intervention before the moment passes. Because if you don't open your eyes now, it will be too late to stop what's forming in the shadows. My child, my beloved, before I continue, let me ask you this. Are you truly ready to know what heaven saw when you did what you did? Are you ready to hear the truth you were never told? Because this message is not light. It's not sugar-coated. It's raw. Because God loves you too deeply to lie to you. And I was commanded to speak this message to your soul with fire. Not to frighten you, but to shake you free. You were born for something greater than fear, greater than confusion, greater than this cycle you're trapped in. But when you crossed that spiritual line, yes, the one no one saw you cross, a domino began to fall. A delay was activated. A warning was issued in heaven. But you kept going. And now, unless you open this message all the way, something irreversible will soon be set in motion. This is the hour of clarity, the hour you choose whether to turn toward the light or remain in the shadow of that decision. My child, my beloved, if your heart is racing, that's not anxiety. That's your spirit recognizing that truth is approaching. That's your inner knowing waking up from the sleep the enemy tried to trap it in. You may think, what mistake? What did I do? And that's exactly what the enemy wanted. To blind you while they moved. To distract you while they traded your name for something that was never meant to reach you. But God stepped in. Heaven paused the plan. I myself stepped down to intercept the consequences. But even I, with all my heavenly authority, cannot force you to see what you keep avoiding. You must open this message now and finish it, because buried within it is the key to undo what you did before it fully locks into your destiny. And once that happens, even I will not be able to intervene again. Before you go further, stop for just one moment and look at your screen. If your eyes are on this line, I need you to do something that will open a new divine channel. Click the subscribe button. Because when you do, you're not just subscribing to a video. You are declaring to heaven that you are ready to hear more divine instructions, warnings, and miracles. You are aligning yourself with the army of God, and I will personally shield you under my wings. But if you skip it, the next message may not find you in time. My child, my beloved, I know your heart is heavy. I know there were tears. I know you tried to do the right thing. But intention without awareness can still create damage. And right now, what you did unintentionally has given someone access to your life who was never meant to be near you. This person carries envy, but masks it with smiles. They carry bitterness, but wrap it in fake support. They were watching when you made that choice. They were waiting. And the moment you made that move, they saw a weakness and they acted fast. That's why this message had to come through me with urgency and fire. You still have time to shut the gate, but not much. You must stay with me until the end of this message, and you must allow me to show you exactly what heaven saw. Because if you leave now, you may never know who this person really is or what they were about to do in your name. My child, my beloved, I can see you questioning now, wondering what you missed. How something so serious could be wrapped in something that felt small. But isn't that how the enemy always works? Through the unnoticed, the unseen, the unspoken. That moment when you trusted someone you shouldn't have. That decision you made without asking for divine clarity first. That agreement you said yes to even though something inside you whispered, this is not for you. The enemy doesn't show up with horns. They show up as the thing you think you've been waiting for. They show up with kindness too sweet, promises too fast, and energy that feels too loud for your soul to handle. And you, because your heart is so pure, let it pass. But heaven caught it. And I, your protector, have been wrestling behind the veil to delay the price of that moment. But beloved, I cannot hold it off much longer. This is why this message arrived when it did. It was timed by heaven itself. Because the price for your silence, your delay, your mistake is about to be charged. Unless you let this truth wake you up. Let me pause here and speak to you in my own voice for 1 minute. This message is strong not because of anger but because of urgency. Sometimes we don't realize when we cross a line, not intentionally but by ignoring signs, delaying the seasons, or trusting the wrong voices. If this feels uncomfortable to hear, that's okay. Growth often begins where comfort ends. This is not about punishment. It is about awareness. You still have time to correct what needs to be corrected. But only if you listen now. Please don't treat this as entertainment. Stay till the end because understanding this moment can save you from repeating the same mistake again and again. My child, my beloved, I can see you questioning now, wondering what you missed. How something so serious could be wrapped in something that felt small. But isn't that how the enemy always works through the unnoticed, the unseen, the unspoken? That moment when you trusted someone you shouldn't have. That decision you made without asking for divine clarity first. That agreement you said yes to, even though something inside you whispered, this is not for you. The enemy doesn't show up with horns. They show up as the thing you think you've been waiting for. They show up with kindness too sweet, promises too fast, and energy that feels too loud for your soul to handle. And you, because your heart is so pure, let it pass. But heaven caught it. And I, your protector, have been wrestling behind the veil to delay the price of that moment. But beloved, I cannot hold it off much longer. This is why this message arrived when it did. It was timed by heaven itself. Because the price for your silence, your delay, your mistake is about to be charged. Unless you let this truth wake you up. My child, my beloved, I do not say this to hurt you. I say this to lift the veil because you deserve to walk in the full light. You deserve to know what has been circling your destiny like a vulture waiting for the moment to strike. There is a person who speaks well of you in public, but in private they are draining your favor. They are mimicking your words, your light, your blessings, and attaching themselves to your spiritual pathway like a parasite. You let them in. Maybe out of kindness, maybe out of guilt, maybe because they felt familiar. But this person does not want to see you rise. And what you did recently gave them access they had been waiting for. I am not here to shame you. I am here to reclaim you. But I cannot do it alone. If you want me to step in and shut this down before it reaches your name, your finances, your future, then you must let this message reach the core of your spirit. You must stop pretending everything is okay. You must stop calling this pain a coincidence. And you must accept the truth. You gave something sacred to someone who was not worthy. My child, my beloved, even now they are planning something. You wouldn't believe how bold they have become since your last interaction. I watched it. They took your silence as permission. They took your peace as weakness. And I've heard what they said about you when they thought no one could hear. But heaven hears everything. And I, Archangel Michael, am not just a messenger. I am the sword of God's justice. And I am ready to move. But I cannot strike without your surrender. You must give me your yes. Not the yes of your lips, but the yes of your soul. The kind of yes that says, I'm ready to be protected, even if it means letting go of someone I loved. The kind of yes that says, I'm done trying to fix what God already told me to release. Because the longer you wait, the deeper the roots grow, the harder the cleanup will be. And beloved, if you knew what heaven has stored up for you just beyond this person's shadow, you would not hesitate a single second longer. My child, my beloved, there is something else you don't know. There was an appointment scheduled for your name in the spiritual realm. A miracle that was supposed to arrive by now, but it didn't. Do you want to know why? Because heaven does not deliver treasure to tainted ground. You cannot receive what is holy while hosting what is harmful. And that is exactly what your mistake created. A delay, a fog, a misalignment. So God paused it. Yes, your blessing is still yours. It hasn't been handed to someone else yet, but time is running out. If you continue in this direction, if you let pride, shame, or fear stop you from fully receiving this message, then the blessing that was written for your name may be rerouted to another. Not because you weren't worthy, but because you refused to become ready. Don't let that happen. Please, beloved, I say this with urgency that trembles in the spirit. God still wants to give it to you. But He's watching what you do in the next few hours. And so am I. My child, my beloved, the mistake you made did not disqualify you, but it did activate a test. And now every moment from this point is part of a spiritual decision-making process. You are being watched not with judgment but with deep hope. Heaven is rooting for you. Your ancestors are watching. The angels are holding their breath. Because if you pass this test, what you'll receive will be more than restoration. It will be acceleration. What was delayed will be doubled. What was broken will be replaced with something even more beautiful. But that will only happen if you face this. If you stay in this message, if you stop avoiding the truth, your soul already knows that some people only come close to you to interrupt what God is doing in your life. And you must let them go even if it breaks your heart to do so. My child, my beloved, you don't need to explain to anyone why you're feeling what you're feeling. You don't need to prove to anyone why your spirit feels unsettled around certain people, even if they smile at you in public. You don't have to justify why you've been sensing something is off, even when you can't describe it in words. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. And the reason it's been getting stronger lately is because your soul is trying to alert you that the mistake you made, though subtle, created a crack in the wall of your spiritual protection. And the enemy is slipping through it. Not all at once, but in whispers, in delays, in tiny shifts that make you feel exhausted, confused, misunderstood. I know you've wondered why certain blessings feel like they almost arrive and then suddenly disappear. I know you've asked yourself why people you trusted seem to be slowly turning their back. It's because the access point hasn't been closed yet. You gave them access and you never revoked it. But this message is your moment to seal it, to lock it, to reclaim your divine alignment. Don't wait another day. I'm standing over you with sword drawn, but I need your permission to strike. My child, my beloved, you don't need to explain to anyone why you're feeling what you're feeling. You don't need to prove to anyone why your spirit feels unsettled around certain people, even if they smile at you in public. You don't have to justify why you've been sensing something is off, even when you can't describe it in words. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. And the reason it's been getting stronger lately is because your soul is trying to alert you that the mistake you made, though subtle, created a crack in the wall of your spiritual protection and the enemy is slipping through it. Not all at once, but in whispers, in delays, in tiny shifts that make you feel exhausted, confused, misunderstood. I know you've wondered why certain blessings feel like they almost arrive and then suddenly disappear. I know you've asked yourself why people you trusted seem to be slowly turning their back. It's because the access point hasn't been closed yet. You gave them access and you never revoked it. But this message is your moment to seal it, to lock it, to reclaim your divine alignment. Don't wait another day. I'm standing over you with sword drawn. But I need your permission to strike. My child, my beloved, this is not just about protection. It's about purpose. You have something on your life that is rare. You carry a light that cannot be replicated. That's why you're being targeted. That's why even when you try to live quietly, certain people still find a way to drain you. Because your very presence makes darkness uncomfortable. And when you made that mistake, when you allowed the wrong person close, it wasn't just a social misstep. It was a spiritual transaction. Your peace, your clarity, your favor, it all began leaking the moment you gave them trust that belonged to heaven. But you can fix it right now if you'll listen. If you'll surrender your pride, if you'll admit that you've been feeling the shift, but were too afraid to face the source. You don't have to stay trapped in the consequence. You don't have to keep waiting for things to improve on their own. They won't. Not until you let heaven interfere. Not until you let me step into this battle fully. I've been circling you, waiting, but I cannot go where I am not invited. My child, my beloved, I need you to hear this next part clearly. The person who is pretending to support you is secretly hoping you'll fail. They speak words of encouragement to your face, but they've already planted seeds of doubt behind your back. They're trying to delay your arrival into the next level of your life by creating confusion around your identity. And worse, they're doing it with subtlety. So, you begin to question yourself. You've probably already had moments recently where you thought, maybe I'm the problem. That's not you. That's the effect of being spiritually entangled with someone who does not have clean intentions. But you still have time. And the reason heaven chose this exact moment to send this message is because what they planned is almost ready to be unleashed. It's almost done. One more wrong move and their actions will affect your name, your finances, your family, your energy. But if you listen now, if you truly let this message into your spirit, I can cut it off at the root. My child, my beloved, you may wonder, why would God allow you to go through something like this? Why didn't heaven stop you from making that mistake in the first place? But what you don't realize is that your spirit was warned. You were nudged. You were given dreams. You were shown signs. But pain from your past made you ignore your intuition. You wanted peace so badly, you accepted counterfeit companionship. You wanted progress so deeply, you said yes to pressure disguised as opportunity. But God didn't abandon you. He watched. He allowed it to unfold just far enough to wake you up, but not far enough to destroy you. That's what divine mercy looks like. And now this message is your reset. Not just a warning, but a reversal. Not just a confrontation, but a key. You are not too late. But you are almost out of time. And that's why my voice must rise now. Because I love you. Because God loves you. Because heaven still wants to give you what was promised. My child, my beloved, this message is sacred. You were not supposed to see this by accident. It was placed in your path today because something was scheduled to happen to you tomorrow. Yes, something unexpected, something tied to the mistake you made. But because you've chosen to open this message, heaven is already recalculating. A different outcome is now possible. But only if you finish this message and follow the divine instruction I will give you soon. Do not rush. Do not skim. Every word is doing surgery in your spirit. Every paragraph is removing residue from that wrong connection. Every sentence is sealing a door you left open too long. Stay present. Because if you stop here, the process will not complete and what was chasing you will find its way through. But if you stay, if you continue to let my words wash over your soul, you will emerge with power, clarity, and favor that the enemy cannot touch. My child, my beloved, I want you to remember something you may have forgotten. God never writes endings without first offering redemption. Even when you stumble, even when you fall for the wrong person, speak the wrong words, walk through the wrong door, heaven still watches you with love, not punishment. But love doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it roars. And today, love is roaring in your direction because what's at stake is no longer small. The consequences are not just about you anymore. The wrong energy that was allowed near your spirit is beginning to touch things you haven't noticed yet. Your name, your finances, your health, your peace. And if you continue pretending it's not real, pretending everything is fine, you'll wake up one day wondering how you lost what was once so divinely aligned. I'm telling you now with all the fire in my voice. If you want to keep what was promised to you, you must act. You must open your eyes. You must reclaim what you accidentally surrendered. My child, my beloved, I want you to remember something you may have forgotten. God never writes endings without first offering redemption. Even when you stumble, even when you fall for the wrong person, speak the wrong words, walk through the wrong door, heaven still watches you with love, not punishment. But love doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it roars. And today, love is roaring in your direction because what's at stake is no longer small. The consequences are not just about you anymore. The wrong energy that was allowed near your spirit is beginning to touch things you haven't noticed yet. Your name, your finances, your health, your peace. And if you continue pretending it's not real, pretending everything is fine, you'll wake up one day wondering how you lost what was once so divinely aligned. I'm telling you now with all the fire in my voice. If you want to keep what was promised to you, you must act. You must open your eyes. You must reclaim what you accidentally surrendered. My child, my beloved, there's something about your silence that the enemy has mistaken for surrender. You've been too quiet. You've tried to keep the peace, thinking your kindness would solve the chaos, but it hasn't. You've bitten your tongue. You've played small. You've lowered your light to make others comfortable, but they took that as weakness. And the person you let too close now believes they have more power over your life than they do. This is not just emotional betrayal. This is a spiritual violation. They touched what was sacred without permission, and they did it with full awareness. Do not give them the benefit of the doubt anymore. Do not keep defending someone who has secretly been dismantling the blessings that were sent to you. And I know confrontation terrifies you. You don't want conflict. You don't want to hurt anyone. But child, what about you? What about the pain you've been carrying in silence? What about the energy you lose every day trying to protect people who would never do the same for you? My child, my beloved, I say this not to shame you, but to awaken you. You were chosen. Do you understand what that means? You were marked for divine favor before you ever took your first breath. And because of that, you cannot move like everyone else. You cannot align yourself with just anyone. You cannot hand over your time, your heart, your attention, your loyalty to people who were never assigned to walk your path. The mistake you made wasn't just a bad choice. It was a spiritual misplacement, and God tried to gently correct it before. But now the moment has come where correction must come with clarity, and clarity feels like a storm. It breaks things. It forces you to look where you didn't want to look. But it also reveals the truth you've needed all along. That you've been under spiritual attack disguised as human relationship, that you've been slowly drained not by accident but by design. My child, my beloved, this person who now carries access to your energy knows exactly what they're doing. They've been studying you, watching how you react, mimicking your words to blend in, borrowing your light to appear safe. But all along, they've been positioning themselves to benefit from your blessings without carrying your burden. And that is not of God. That is not alignment. That is manipulation. You must stop allowing yourself to be guilt-tripped into loyalty that heaven never approved. You must stop mistaking history for destiny. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they're meant to stay. Some people were only supposed to pass through, yet you let them build camp. And now they've overstayed, and their presence is blocking what's trying to reach you. God is not punishing you, but He will not deliver treasure to a place that's already full of spiritual clutter. You must clear it now. My child, my beloved, you were so close. So close to something life-changing. I saw it. It had already begun moving toward you in the spirit. The contracts were signed. The angels were aligning everything behind the scenes. But the mistake caused a ripple. The agreement you made, the conversation you had, the door you opened, the person you allowed, it paused everything. Not cancelled, but paused. And in this pause, darkness is hoping you'll fall asleep again. That you'll miss your window. That you'll keep dragging the wrong person into the next chapter, and God will be forced to rewrite what was once ready to unfold. But child, you don't have to let that happen. This message is the alarm clock. I am waking you up, not gently, not softly, but with power. Because heaven is counting on you to remember who you are again. You're not just anyone. You are chosen. You are marked. And you are being watched not only by heaven, but also by hell, and both are waiting to see what you do next. My child, my beloved, I need you to understand something that most people never realize until it's too late. What delays your blessings isn't always the devil. Sometimes it's your inability to release what heaven already told you to walk away from. Your destiny is not denied. It's waiting on your obedience. And I know that's a hard truth. I know you thought you could fix it, love them enough to change them, ignore the signs, and hope things would smooth over. But child, that was never your assignment. You are not God. You are not called to carry people who keep choosing to hurt you. You are not responsible for people who only show up when they want access to your grace. And I speak this with divine firmness. If you continue to ignore what you feel, if you keep making excuses for people who are actively betraying your light, then the very blessings you've been praying for will begin to weep in heaven, waiting for you to become bold enough to receive them. My child, my beloved, I need you to understand something that most people never realize until it's too late. What delays your blessings isn't always the devil. Sometimes it's your inability to release what heaven already told you to walk away from. Your destiny is not denied. It's waiting on your obedience. And I know that's a hard truth. I know you thought you could fix it, love them enough to change them, ignore the signs, and hope things would smooth over. But child, that was never your assignment. You are not God. You are not called to carry people who keep choosing to hurt you. You are not responsible for people who only show up when they want access to your grace. And I speak this with divine firmness. If you continue to ignore what you feel, if you keep making excuses for people who are actively betraying your light, then the very blessings you've been praying for will begin to weep in heaven, waiting for you to become bold enough to receive them. My child, my beloved, there is something very specific I must tell you. And it may sting, but it will save your life. There is someone who has been smiling in your face while stabbing your name in silence. They've been collecting pieces of your vulnerability, saving every detail, not to protect you, but to use it later. I saw the conversation. I heard the mocking tone. I watched how they retold your words to another person and twisted them. I stood by as they mentioned your name, not with honor, but with jealousy and secret malice. This is not a guess. This is not a warning based on fear. This is heaven's intelligence. And I, Archangel Michael, am telling you with full authority, this person is not who you think they are. And if you let them stay close one more week, they will intercept something sacred that's on its way to you. You must be willing to break free from the illusion. Because their goal was never love. Their goal was control. My child, my beloved, the reason you've been feeling off lately is not just emotional, it's spiritual. You've been absorbing energy that was never meant to reach you. That fog you feel when you wake up, that strange heaviness in your chest, the loss of appetite for the things that once lit you up, that's not depression. That's displacement. That's what happens when your soul is holding on to something that your spirit already rejected. And the moment you made that serious mistake, the one you may still be defending, the shift began. I tried to delay the fallout. I tried to distract you with divine detours. But your free will kept pulling you back into the very pattern that's trying to bury your promise. And now, child, the hour has come where you must make the hard choice. Either you align with heaven or you allow the weight of your mistake to pull you into a future you were never created to carry. My child, my beloved, I know how hard it is to admit you trusted the wrong person. I know how painful it is to realize the one you defended in public is the one tearing you down in private. But that pain is not meant to break you. It's meant to baptize you into a new awareness. You were too pure, too open, too generous with your energy. And the enemy noticed. They sent someone who looked like comfort, felt like safety, but was carrying hidden intentions. But God, in His mercy, is still watching you. And I, His warrior, have not stopped standing over you, waiting for the moment you say enough. That word alone can shift everything. Enough pretending. Enough ignoring. Enough tolerating low vibration people just because you're afraid of being alone. You were never alone. You've been surrounded by angels. But even we cannot override your permission. You have to say it. You have to choose freedom. You have to want clarity more than you want comfort. My child, my beloved, as you read these words, something in the spiritual realm is already moving. I see a gate opening. I see a delay being shortened. I see a divine file in heaven being reopened with your name glowing on it because your spirit is waking up again. You're remembering who you are. You're shedding the fog of the mistake. You're seeing clearly now what you were afraid to admit before. And because of that, I am authorized to go deeper with you. There is a blessing so close you could touch it, but it will only be released if you follow the divine instructions given before this message ends. No shortcuts, no skipping. This is your moment and I will walk you through every step. But if you stop now, if you say, I'll come back later, the file will close again and I will have to return to battle without the authority to cover you. Do not do that. Stay. Keep reading. You are closer to your breakthrough than you've ever been. My child, my beloved, I want you to hear this loud and clear. The enemy is running out of time. That's why the attacks have become more personal. That's why the confusion has increased. That's why the person you thought you could trust has suddenly shifted. It's not random. It's spiritual timing. Because heaven is preparing to release something that will completely change your life. And darkness wants you too distracted, too wounded, too entangled to receive it. That's why this message had to be delivered now. That's why I was sent. Because you don't have another cycle left in you. You don't have another year to waste with people who were never meant to carry your name in their mouth. God has waited. I've protected. But now comes the moment where your decision will either unlock heaven's release or delay it again. And child, I don't want to see you delayed another day. You've already waited long enough. My child, my beloved, I want you to hear this loud and clear. The enemy is running out of time. That's why the attacks have become more personal. That's why the confusion has increased. That's why the person you thought you could trust has suddenly shifted. It's not random. It's spiritual timing. Because heaven is preparing to release something that will completely change your life. And darkness wants you too distracted, too wounded, too entangled to receive it. That's why this message had to be delivered now. That's why I was sent, because you don't have another cycle left in you. You don't have another year to waste with people who were never meant to carry your name in their mouth. God has waited. I've protected. But now comes the moment where your decision will either unlock heaven's release or delay it again. And child, I don't want to see you delayed another day. You've already waited long enough. My child, my beloved, you've noticed how your strength has been tested lately. How your peace has felt like it was slipping through your fingers. That wasn't your imagination. That was the cost of keeping the wrong presence near you. And the worst part, the enemy used someone familiar to do it. Someone you've shared space with. Someone who knew your routines, your heart, your insecurities, and used them like weapons. You never saw it coming because you weren't looking for betrayal. You were looking for belonging. But heaven saw it. I saw it. And that's why I've been pressing so hard to reach you through this message, because that familiarity has now become a foothold, a portal, a leak in the wall. And unless it is sealed now, it will grow into something that not even your strongest prayers can reverse without deep loss. I don't say that to scare you. I say it to prepare you. Because if you stay one moment longer tied to that energy, you are agreeing to consequences God never wanted you to carry. My child, my beloved, I need to speak to the part of you that still doubts your worth. The part that thinks maybe you deserve this pain. The part that whispers, maybe I asked for this. Child, no, you didn't ask for betrayal. You didn't ask for spiritual warfare. You didn't ask to be used. What you asked for was love. What you prayed for was purpose. What you were seeking was a sign that you're not alone. And the enemy twisted that hunger into a trap. But just because you made a mistake doesn't mean you forfeited your miracle. Grace is still alive. Mercy is still moving. God's love didn't change because you fell into something you didn't know how to escape. And that's why this moment matters so much. You are not being punished. You are being pulled out of the darkness, away from the deception and into the light that was always waiting for you to see it clearly. My child, my beloved, you are not broken. You are not too far gone. You have not ruined your destiny, but you are standing at a dangerous edge. One more step in the wrong direction and the spiritual consequences will multiply. You've already been warned in dreams, in delays, in sudden arguments that didn't make sense, in cancelled plans, in doors that once opened easily but now seem locked. That was heaven speaking. That was protection disguised as frustration. And if you're honest, you felt it. That holy discomfort, that divine unease. You've known something is off. But you haven't had the courage to call it out until now. That's why I'm here. Because you needed a voice stronger than your fear. And I promise you, child, if you finish this message, if you let the divine instructions settle into your spirit, you will watch the enemy retreat in full panic because they will know you've returned to full spiritual authority. My child, my beloved, someone you love is watching you suffer and they think you don't notice. They think you'll never find out. They believe they've gotten away with it. But what they don't know is that heaven has already exposed them. They've already been weighed, judged, their actions recorded in the court of angels. And God has already prepared their consequence. But He's giving them a final chance to turn back. Just as He's giving you a final chance to release them. Because if you continue to stay tied to someone who is walking in darkness, their punishment may start to splash onto your life. And God does not want you to suffer for someone else's pride. That's why this message is arriving like thunder. Not because you're in danger, but because you're on the edge of breakthrough. And heaven wants you completely clean before your name is called in the Spirit again. My child, my beloved, you don't even realize how many times heaven has saved you from consequences that should have hit you harder. While you were sleeping, angels were standing at the gates of your destiny, defending what you didn't even know was under attack. When your heart was broken, when you were too tired to pray, when your faith felt like it was crumbling under the weight of betrayal, I saw you. I stood beside you holding back floods that you never even knew were gathering at your door. But now, beloved, I need your cooperation. I need your yes. Not just the kind you whisper in the middle of the night, but the kind that shows up in action. The kind of yes that walks away from what's killing your light. The kind of yes that stops protecting people who keep planting seeds of delay in your garden. Because heaven cannot release what you are still allowing the enemy to hold. My child, my beloved, let me tell you what the enemy is afraid of most. Your awakening, your clarity, your fire. They've been working overtime to keep you distracted, emotionally entangled, spiritually fogged because the moment you step fully into your power, their access ends. And that's exactly what this message is designed to do, to cut every cord, to expose every lie, to remove every mask. But I cannot do this alone. If you read this and ignore it, if you keep pretending you didn't hear God's voice calling through these words, then the enemy will think he has permission to press harder. And child, I don't want to watch you go through that again. Not when you've come so far. Not when you've endured storms that would have crushed someone else. Not when heaven has already written the next chapter of your life, waiting for your full surrender before it's released. My child, my beloved, let me tell you what the enemy is afraid of most. Your awakening, your clarity, your fire. They've been working overtime to keep you distracted, emotionally entangled, spiritually fogged, because the moment you step fully into your power, their access ends. And that's exactly what this message is designed to do. To cut every cord, to expose every lie, to remove every mask. But I cannot do this alone. If you read this and ignore it, if you keep pretending you didn't hear God's voice calling through these words, then the enemy will think he has permission to press harder. And child, I don't want to watch you go through that again. Not when you've come so far. Not when you've endured storms that would have crushed someone else. Not when heaven has already written the next chapter of your life, waiting for your full surrender before it's released. My child, my beloved, you have gifts that you haven't even tapped into yet. You were designed to speak, to lead, to break generational cycles, to carry a light that transforms any room you walk into. But the longer you allow yourself to be weighed down by the wrong connection, the longer your anointing remains muffled. You feel tired, not because you lack strength, but because you're carrying things that were never yours. That's what that mistake did. It created soul clutter, spiritual noise. It made you question whether you were ever called at all. But I'm here to remind you, you were chosen long before they doubted you. Long before you gave your energy to someone who couldn't honor it. And I promise you this, if you let go now, if you allow me to sever what needs to be severed, you will experience such a rush of clarity, healing, and favor that you'll barely recognize your life by the time this month ends. My child, my beloved, I know that deep down you've been begging for a sign, for confirmation, for proof that heaven still has your name in mind. This message is your sign. You didn't find this by accident. It didn't reach you by chance. This was scheduled in heaven before you even asked. And the moment you finish this message, if you let it reach your soul, there will be a shift. I'm not speaking in riddles. I'm speaking in spiritual truth. You've already felt it beginning. The weight is lifting. The tears are drying. The confusion is clearing. You're starting to see people for who they really are. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. That's the awakening your soul has been waiting for. Don't stop now. Don't turn away. The final part of this message carries divine instructions that must be obeyed if you want full restoration. And I will walk with you every step of the way. My child, my beloved, I want you to prepare your spirit for something unexpected. After this message, within the next 7 days, someone will be removed from your life. It may happen quickly. It may feel sudden, but don't panic. Don't run back. Don't try to fix it. It is a divine release. What's leaving was never part of the promise. And what's coming in will carry more peace than you felt in months. But you must be ready to let go. You must be willing to trust what God is subtracting. Even if it hurts, because the subtraction is making space for something that will multiply everything you thought you lost. I saw the release. I saw the blessing. It's already moving toward you, but it will only land if the space is clear. That's why I'm speaking now. That's why you're still reading. Because your obedience is unlocking what your prayers alone could not. My child, my beloved, what is coming next is not a punishment. It is a cleansing. You may feel alone in the coming days, but I need you to understand what feels like isolation is actually elevation. God is removing what cannot go where you're going. And sometimes heaven doesn't explain. He just moves. He just pulls, shifts, rearranges, exposes. And if you trust him, you'll soon realize that what you thought was rejection was really protection. You're not being left behind. You're being lifted out because where you're heading, you need clarity, strength, and peace. And right now, the weight you've been carrying, emotional, spiritual, even physical, is not part of your next chapter. That's why it's becoming unbearable. That's why your heart feels too full of questions. That's why certain people suddenly feel out of place. Heaven is drawing a line and inviting you to cross it. But you cannot carry what you're clinging to now and still walk into that miracle. My child, my beloved, I must speak now of something sacred. There is a moment soon where your name will be spoken in heaven again. But this time it will not be a plea for protection. It will be a declaration for release, a command, a divine stamp of favor. And when that moment comes, you will feel it. A lightness will hit your chest. A chill will run down your spine. A door will open where only walls used to be. That is the moment you've been praying for. And I need you to be ready for it. Because if you are still tangled in the mistake by then, if you are still tied to the wrong soul, that moment may pass you by. God won't cancel it, but he will wait. And I don't want you to wait anymore. You've been in delay long enough. You've cried enough. You've done enough inner work. Now it is time for surrender. A deep, full, unshakable surrender. My child, my beloved, you have no idea how much heaven has prepared for you. There is a storehouse in the spiritual realm with your name carved on it. It's not just money. It's not just peace. It's everything you thought you lost. The people who walked away, the time that was stolen, the years you spent trying to survive, the moments you begged for God to hear you. All of it seen. All of it counted. All of it redeemable. And if you stay in this message until the very end, if you allow it to change you, I promise you what you will feel next will not be ordinary. Your sleep will return. Your mind will quiet. That strange anxiety that's been hovering over you will begin to lift. That's not just emotion. That is spiritual detox. That is divine alignment. That is me pulling away the veil one word at a time. My child, my beloved, you have no idea how much heaven has prepared for you. There is a storehouse in the spiritual realm with your name carved on it. It's not just money. It's not just peace. It's everything you thought you lost. The people who walked away, the time that was stolen, the years you spent trying to survive, the moments you begged for God to hear you. All of it seen. All of it counted. All of it redeemable. And if you stay in this message until the very end, if you allow it to change you, I promise you what you will feel next will not be ordinary. Your sleep will return. Your mind will quiet. That strange anxiety that's been hovering over you will begin to lift. That's not just emotion. That is spiritual detox. That is divine alignment. That is me pulling away the veil one word at a time. My child, my beloved, let this truth settle into your heart. Your mistake did not disqualify you, but it did require a response. You cannot just pray about it and go back to the same patterns. You cannot ask God to heal you and then lie beside the same wound again. You cannot beg for miracles and stay loyal to what's cursing your name in silence. I know it's hard. I know there's love involved. But God loves you more than that connection. And he will not allow your calling to be lost just because your heart was in the wrong place for a season. But he needs your agreement. Your willingness to be uncomfortable for a moment so he can protect you for a lifetime. This isn't punishment. This is redirection. And if you let it work, you will never again beg for peace. It will surround you. It will flood you. It will live inside you like breath. My child, my beloved, I have one more thing to say before I give you the next divine instruction. Listen carefully. What is about to leave your life may look like loss, but it will be the greatest rescue you've ever experienced. You will cry, yes, but those tears will be holy. They will water the soil for the next blessing. And when the new door opens, and it will, you will understand everything. You will look back on this message and say, Heaven was trying to save me the whole time. And beloved, you'll be right. Because that is exactly what I'm doing now. My child, my beloved, I feel your spirit stirring. I feel your heart beginning to shift. That ache inside you right now, that burning, that restlessness is not anxiety. It is your soul remembering what peace feels like. It's the sound of chains breaking in the spiritual realm. It's the echo of your name being spoken with reverence in heaven again. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were never abandoned, but the heaviness you carried from that mistake was clouding your connection to divine clarity. And now that the fog is lifting, I can finally show you the next part of the vision. What you are about to walk into is not just restoration, it is resurrection. What died in your life is being revived. What was stolen is being returned. What you thought was gone forever is already on its way back, but in a form you never expected. My child, my beloved, I need you to prepare your surroundings. There will be a moment very soon when someone who doubted you will hear your name again, but this time it will be attached to favor. You will not have to defend yourself. You will not have to explain what happened. God Himself will speak on your behalf. That's the power of divine reversal. He is not just healing you privately. He is about to honor you publicly. But do not waste your energy trying to prove yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Their access has been revoked. Their opinions hold no weight in the next chapter. From now on, your only assignment is obedience. Obedience to what your spirit already knows. Obedience to the nudges. Obedience to peace. Because peace is your compass now. And if something disrupts it, you must not entertain it even for a moment. My child, my beloved, a divine transfer is being processed with your name on it. I see the scroll. I see the angel assigned to carry it. I see your hands receiving what once felt impossible. But this time, it will not come with confusion. It will not come with guilt. It will not be followed by betrayal. Why? Because the lesson has been learned. The connection has been broken. And you, beloved, have been made new. Yes, God trusted you enough to survive the mistake so that you could carry the wisdom. Now, when the blessing comes, you will guard it. You will protect it. You will not let just anyone near it. You will not share it out of desperation. You will know how to walk in it with grace, with strength, and with spiritual maturity. That's the kind of preparation you've been going through. That's why it hurts so much. You weren't being punished. You were being sharpened. My child, my beloved, I want to remind you of something heaven has always known about you. You carry a warrior spirit. Even when you've been on your knees, you've never truly stopped fighting. Even in your silence, your soul kept praying. Even when you gave up for a moment, your angels did not. That's why you're still here. That's why this message reached you in time. You've survived things you haven't even fully processed yet. You've endured emotional betrayals that others never saw. You've cried behind closed doors, then showed up for others anyway. And God took note of every moment, every sacrifice, every silent tear. Not one of them was wasted. And now the reward is being unlocked. Not just because you asked, but because you didn't quit. And that, child, is why this blessing will be permanent. Because you didn't receive it by shortcut. You received it through fire. My child, my beloved, let this next sentence bury itself in your spirit. The battle is over. Yes, that invisible war, that constant cycle of gain and loss, that emotional instability, that financial pressure, that gnawing fear that things would fall apart again. It's over. Heaven is closing the chapter you were too exhausted to finish. The hand of God is writing a new one. And this time it begins with rest. You will not have to hustle for what is divinely yours. You will not have to beg people to love you. You will not have to chase what already recognizes your worth. This is the era of ease, of alignment, of overflow, and all of it is being unlocked right now because you stayed long enough to hear heaven's full instruction. If you are still here, I'm glad you listened all the way through. Warnings do not come to upset us. They come to protect us. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what we do after realizing them. You are not doomed. You are being redirected. If something inside you feels alert right now, trust that feeling. That awareness itself is a form of protection. Take this message seriously, but don't carry fear with you. If you wish to stay connected with this message, you may subscribe only if it feels right for you. Be mindful, be calm, and remember, correction today can prevent regret tomorrow.